Hello everyone. Today is Tuesday, September 2nd, 2025 at 8 p.m. Today we will talk about the logistics and freight of TikTok. Why do we talk about TikTok? Because we have talked a lot about Amazon's rules and regulations, and some product selection in the North American market. We have actually talked less about the European station and other platforms. We have talked less. So today let's take a look at and compare the logistics costs of other platforms and Amazon. What are the differences? In the future, I will continue to record about the differences between e-commerce platforms for different platforms. What are their advantages or disadvantages? In fact, many people will ask me, how do you think of Amazon? And in 2025, if new sellers are still suitable for Amazon, well, I'll be objective. Because this video, I'm not sure if the Amazon official will see this video. From my own perspective, Amazon is the most complex e-commerce platform. The most complex platform, without a doubt, is the most complex e-commerce platform. Why is it complicated? Because Amazon has many rules, including when you open a store, the registration information you need to submit. Sellers should be more experienced. They are all cautious. They are afraid that during the process of applying, something unexpected happens, which may prevent the store from being successfully applied, including our business license, credit card, shareholder identity, and the identity card of the legal representative. And there are some verifications. So in the process of opening a store on Amazon, the difficulty level for new sellers is not particularly friendly. Another thing is that, in the process of Amazon's operation, including product listing, after listing, it needs to pay attention to many rules, such as whether there is a brand registration, between brand registration and no brand registration, what's the difference, and what kind of risks will there be? Will there be any infringement after listing? For example, whether the product needs certification, whether it is compliant. This is actually often encountered in the North American station and the European market as well, because in the European market, different countries have different laws and regulations, are different. For example, in Germany, you also need to consider the packaging law, VAT tax number, and so on. So, Amazon's rules, I personally think there are quite a few, but it's not over yet. After Amazon puts the product on the shelves, it also needs to consider our orders, right? And conversion rate. After all, selling goods is about profit margin. When promoting, you need to consider advertising strategies, right? You need to have automatic ads, manual advertising, and non-manual ads. There is keyword placement, keyword targeting, and precise matching, phrase matching, broad matching. There is also product placement, and brand advertising, video ads, and display advertising. To understand Amazon's rules clearly, I think it will take about 6 to 12 months, including myself. Actually, for the rules of Amazon, I don't know them 100%. I may only have mastered 50% of Amazon's rules, or 60%. I don't know. In fact, I'm not particularly clear about, because some rules are not used very much, such as how is warehousing fees, how are they calculated. For new products, there is a buying day storage discount, including the return handling fee. There are many strange, these fees. Well, up to now, I'm not particularly clear about it. So, after talking so much about Amazon's complaints, but in fact, Amazon, it also has some advantages of its own. Its advantages are that when it comes to logistics, its logistics is really convenient. The convenience is that all sellers just store the goods in the FBA warehouse. The rest is left to Amazon to handle. It can handle order delivery and handling returns and exchanges for buyers, and so on. So sellers only need to focus their time and energy on the operation side. However, the focus of our discussion today is the comparison between platforms, such as Amazon has such an FBA service. So, do other platforms have such services? For example, like TikTok, does it have a similar service? There are actually. Let's first take a look at Amazon's charging standard. It is actually based on the different weights or different volumes to distinguish different intervals, and calculates the logistics cost. A charging standard, for example, from a standard package of 400 grams to 900 grams, the cost is, for example, from 4.7 to 5.15. Then in different countries, the cost will vary slightly. The cost, in fact, Costs in our operation process. I personally think it is still relatively high, especially for some low-priced products. So actually, for low-priced products, it's relatively high on Amazon, because there is not much room for you to operate. What is the space for operation? Which means you need to have some budget to advertise, and then there is some budget to control returns, the loss caused by it. Or you need to participate in platform activities, or flash sales. All of these are actually called operational space, or YAR. The gross profit part. You need to set aside a portion to do your operations and promotion and drainage. Okay, so today's focus is not on Amazon. We have done Amazon. Should be very clear. The content I just mentioned and the difficulties of Amazon. Let's talk about TikTok. For Amazon logistics system, what are its advantages? First of all, for TikTok, now has some subsidies for sellers and buyers. It actually has some subsidies for logistics and freight. In TikTok, the normal freight calculation standard is the table we see here. It is also divided into different volumes, different weights, and then different charging standards. From this chart, such as local delivery in Spain. For local delivery in Spain, the starting point is 500 grams, which is 0.9 euros. It doesn't include VAT. If it's for cross-regional or cross-country or international delivery, the charging standard is as follows. 500 grams will be 1.69 euros. Let's compare it with Amazon. For 500 grams on Amazon, we can look at small packages. For small packages, say within 400 grams, the average price is about 3 to 5 euros. In this range, the charging standards vary in different countries. So, compared to Amazon, the logistics and transportation costs of TikTok, the logistics and transportation costs is lower than that of Amazon. If it's cross-country delivery, here is a formula listed. For example, if you deliver from Spain to Germany, then your cost will be 1.69 euros. It also gives different examples below. For example, if you have 2 items, plus 3.06, such as a cosmetic and a toy, their volume and weight are different. They can be added together, which is 1.69 plus 3.06, which is finally equal to 4.75. This is a fee excluding VAT. This is a standard calculation method for logistics costs. However, but actually, TikTok, not just now, actually for a long time, it has a subsidy policy for logistics fees. There are certain subsidy policies. In the subsidy policy, it is divided into. For example, you can use TikTok's logistics warehouse to deliver the goods, or use a third-party platform to deliver goods, or the seller can deliver the goods by himself. What is third-party platform delivery? Third-party platform delivery can be understood as is a traditional logistics company, such as DHL, TNT, and other types of logistics companies, are called third-party platforms. But if you use a third-party platform to do the delivery, the seller still needs to store, pack the goods, label them, and hand over the package, and then hand it over to the logistics company. The logistics company will then deliver the goods. The logistics companies they mentioned are some regular or local, larger logistics companies. It doesn't have a standard or range or a list. Its core advantage is not what I just mentioned. Its freight is relatively low. It actually has another policy. It also has a policy that, for example, if I join FBT, which is TikTok's logistics system, if I deliver 5,000 items within 90 days, it's free, without any freight costs. And then, the first 90 days are free of storage fees. This is for some new sellers, or new sellers who have joined its logistics system. For this part of sellers, is offered such a preferential policy. But this is not the most attractive. It's the most attractive to sellers. The most attractive thing for sellers. It has a so-called over 20 euros and more than 20 euros and less than 20 euros in the buyer's order. If the order is more than 20 euros, the platform will bear the shipping cost. The buyer doesn't need to pay the shipping fee. and sellers doesn't need to bear the cost of shipping. If the buyer needs to use any XB, which means a faster logistics method, he only needs to increase €1 cost, which is only €1. This is for both sellers and buyers. Is a very friendly one. Logistics system. But its prerequisite is that is, it must be added to TikTok's logistics system. Its abbreviation is called EFT. What are the benefits for us sellers? As I just mentioned, that is, if you are doing Amazon, you have a lot of costs. There is a platform commission, warehousing fees, and logistics costs. But at least for now on TikTok, when orders are over €20, you don't need to pay any additional fees. It's also more friendly to buyers, because when your cost goes down, your selling price can be reduced. Your selling price drops. Your conversion rate will be higher. For example, for the same t-shirt, you sell it for €19.9 on Amazon. You can sell it for €16.9 on TikTok. If it's lower than €3, then your conversion rate will obviously increase, especially for low-priced products. For this product, that is, within €30 or within $30, the price fluctuation for the conversion rate has a significant impact. Then here also lists some calculation methods, which is a kind of FPT calculation method. He said that a seller has 1,000 orders. Among the 1,000 orders, 700 orders are more than €20, and 300 orders are less than €20. But the buyer doesn't need to. The seller doesn't need to pay any fees. It's zero here. If the order amount is less than €20, for this order, the buyer will bear this part of the cost, which is 300 times 3.99. So the total is €1,197. So, this is a very big advantage of joining EFT. Advantage. In the calculation of logistics, if all 1,000 orders are more than €20, then the buyer doesn't need to pay the shipping fee, and the seller doesn't need to pay the shipping fee. These 1,000 orders, that is to say, all the logistics costs, will be borne by the platform. What are the benefits of this action? One benefit is that it can encourage buyers to choose more products. For example, I have 2 items that are €9.9. Well, no, not €9.9. No, it's not. Let's say €10, and both are €10. In order to save money, he will not pay an additional, a €3.99 fee. He is likely to buy both items simultaneously. Or let me give another example. One of our products is €15, and the other one is €6. If he buys the €15 product, he has to pay €3.99. It will be 15 plus 4. That's about €19. At this time, he might as well add one more item to his order, and add one more product to make up the order. The order amount will increase. So to a certain extent, encourage buyers to increase the number of products, the orders, the number of products in the order, or a combination of products in the order. This is more conducive to the seller to increase the sales amount of a single order. This is one of its, personally, I think is a more advantageous place. If you buy more, you will get free shipping. It's cheaper. However, this function doesn't exist on Amazon. This is something that I actually don't understand. That is, personally, I think Amazon, it should actually encourage that. Whether from the seller's perspective or buyer's perspective, there should be a good logistics system. Let me correct that. It's not that Amazon doesn't have it. Amazon has a Prime membership. For Prime members, if they reach a certain amount, they can enjoy free shipping service. But in fact, when we look at our orders in the background, in this order, how much we sellers should deduct, the amount that we should deduct is still the same. This is for sellers. It's actually an unfriendly way. but for Prime members. This way is more friendly. Personally, I think that if, for example, if it is to encourage buyers to buy more, this product, whether from the perspective of consumers or from the seller's perspective, I think there should be some buying more with greater discounts. The platform needs to have such support to support it. Of course, Amazon also has some promotional activities. This, of course, is not that Amazon doesn't have any. Amazon also has some promotional activities. For example, if I buy more products, and he can enjoy more discounts. But these more discounts are provided by the seller. For example, how much is one piece? How much for 3 pieces? How much for 5 pieces? Even for some enterprise users, there are also tiered discounts. I just think it's more complicated to set up. More complicated. With too many rules and complicated. It's simpler than TikTok. That is to say, as long as you understand the rules. Anyway, there is no shipping fee. Well, the seller can consider how to make a product combination. For example, if it reaches more than 20 euros, it's good for the buyer. And the cost for the seller is also low, right? Because if I don't bear the shipping cost, and the seller doesn't bear the freight, then I can lower the price of the product, right? Then the conversion rate will increase significantly. If it's for the EU countries or other countries, what is the calculation method of the cost? If my goods are stored in Spain, I need to deliver it to a customer in Germany. The calculation method is actually the same. If it's over 20 euros, you don't need to pay any shipping fees. It's also a free shipping service. In all the warehouses, there are actually some other additional fees, including Amazon's warehouses. There are actually some fees. The cost of Amazon's warehouse. There is one thing that I think is not good. That is, there is a long-term storage fee. Long-term storage fees. The longer your goods are stored, the higher your fees will be. It's a compound interest method. But I think, why is it not friendly to sellers? You have to calculate. You need to calculate how many days it has been, and then I should consider liquidating or discounting, or offer a discount. But I think, how many sellers can calculate it clearly? I'm not sure. I think, maybe 90% of sellers can figure it out. Maybe many people know that there is such a thing. But how much is the actual cost? How to calculate it? Your own account, and your own products. How much is the long-term storage fee now? How much it will increase every day or month in the future? How much it will increase? I believe that 90% of sellers can figure it out. Can't figure out this account. Including me, I can't figure it out either. Because of its calculation method, I don't really understand it very well. Just like me, even experienced sellers don't understand it very well. Of course, in TikTok, there are actually storage fees. It's storage fee. It is charged per cubic centimeter, per cubic meter, per SKU, and per day. The longer the storage time, the higher the cost. It's easy to understand. That is to say, for example, every day, per cubic meter, how much it costs per cubic meter, how much for each SKU. The longer you store it, the higher the cost. There is no compound interest calculation method. The complexity of Amazon is that it has compound interest. That is, the longer you keep it, the higher the cost. It will increase in a stepped manner. This is a calculation rule that will confuse sellers. This calculation rule, and then, what other fees will be generated? It will also generate some for orders, packaging, order packaging, this, order picking and sorting, travel expenses. This actually exists in Amazon. In fact, Amazon has some fees, such as this packaging fee and labeling fees. Of course, can also be selected according to the actual situation to make their own choices. However, for new sellers, I personally think new sellers should definitely not understand. It can be 90%. I think new sellers who just start selling on Amazon, maybe the sellers in the first 3 months, should definitely not understand it at all. How the fees and calculations work. calculation method, and actually, in the Amazon backend, you need to detail these FEs. It's actually very difficult. Many FEs, they are grouped into one category, and you don't know what kind of FEs they are, and what specific FEs are generated. This is actually also which is quite confusing to me. And then, in the operating costs, there are some other things included, including, such as returns. When returning goods, they will actually charge a fixed fee for each item, which is the return handling fee. But this is actually available on Amazon, or multiple products bundled into one package. This is like I just said. There may be multiple products in your store, then they are bundled into one package. This is the packaging fee. Here I have to complain again. Amazon. What is Amazon? Amazon. It doesn't have the concept of a store. It is a reseller. In the store, it's considered as a link. Even if there is a situation that I buy the product A in your store, and product B, I bought 2 items, then theoretically, these 2 items should actually be counted as one shipping fee. But in reality, is it? Why not? Well, we can't entirely blame Amazon. Its warehousing system is relatively complex. For example, in the Amazon warehouse, there are many locations. Your item A and item B are likely not in the same warehouse. This is a common situation, because when we ship goods, we need to create a shipment to ship to FBA. It's likely that the shipment will be split into 2 addresses, or even 3 addresses. I believe those who have done Amazon know this, have encountered. So, it will increase my cost. The cost will increase. That is to say, my product A and product B are not in the same warehouse. That means, if the customer buys both product A and product B, they will be charged twice for shipping. The more you buy, the higher the shipping cost. This is, of course, this is caused by their rules. Is there any benefit? There are also benefits. They divide your products into different warehouses. The purpose is to ensure the timeliness of logistics. That is, based on its big data, he thinks that your products, for example, in warehouses A, B, C, and D, are 25% respectively. For example, if you send 100 of them, even if they are in one warehouse when you send them, sometimes it will help you transfer your goods to other warehouses. The purpose is actually to let buyers receive the goods faster, to improve the buyer's experience. This is indeed beneficial. However, it has a drawback. The drawback is, the cost is too high. To be honest, buyers can enjoy such good logistics services. In fact, he has to pay for the cost and price. The cost is the product's cost performance. It's not actually that high. Thirdly, this is a difference in the roles between the 2 platforms. The difference, with both advantages and disadvantages. Personally, I prefer that. The more you buy, the cheaper it should be, and the lower the shipping cost should be. This is more in line with the traditional habit. It may be a little slower. If you want it faster, you can choose a faster logistics service. For example, if I want to receive the goods faster, I can also pay more for the express fee, so I can receive my goods faster. So this is a difference in needs, different from the rules. And then, for the TikTok warehouse, is there anything different from Amazon, or its disadvantages? There are also disadvantages. As for its disadvantages, currently in Europe, in this warehouse, its maximum volume is 61 by 46 by 46. The maximum weight is 30 kilograms. The volume and weight of the product are limited. This will actually exclude some sellers. The sellers, maybe you think, isn't this size big enough? It's really not enough. Some actually on Amazon. There are some who sell large items, not to mention 60. Some may be 1 meter long, and there are also products like that, such as furniture, such as TVs, such as storage boxes. For this type of thing, their volume will be relatively large, and the weight is also relatively heavy. So on TikTok, there are such logistics restrictions, which means that some larger or oversized items, these products cannot be sold on it. However, on the TikTok platform, It is actually a social e-commerce platform. It is not suitable to sell high-priced goods or products with large volumes. It is more suitable for selling some products that are around 20 or 30 euros. Its conversion rate is relatively good. Once the price exceeds 50 to 100 euros, the conversion rate will actually decrease, because once they buy a high-priced product, users usually have a purchase intention. They will search on e-commerce platforms and compare them. Compare the reviews, both positive and negative, and price, and brand. So, TikTok, its platform attributes itself on low-priced products, and mostly light products. So this is one of its disadvantages. Of course, I think this size and weight, for most sellers, are enough. The size and weight are enough. There are no major problems. However, I have to say one more thing. Generally speaking, when we arrive at Amazon, with such a large volume and weight, the shipping cost is very expensive. But on TikTok, we just saw that as long as it exceeds 20 euros, it's free shipping. So for large items, all large-sized products are very advantageous. Let me give you an example. For example, if I sell a 30-kilogram product, the shipping cost, I'll say a number. For example, I want this, 50 euros. Just a random number. But generally speaking, 50 euros should be about the same, or not enough. For example, 50 euros. Then on TikTok, it's free shipping, which means that I sell the same product on TikTok. My price can be 50 euros lower than yours on Amazon. Do you understand what I mean? That means, the larger the product, as long as it is within this standard range, the larger the volume, and heavier products, compared to Amazon, it will have a more competitive price advantage. If it has more price competitive advantage, its conversion rate will be higher. Because when the amount is large to a certain extent, users will be tempted. For example, if you only offer a discount of 3 or 5 euros and free shipping, some users may not necessarily will accept such a discount. They may still follow their habits. As an Amazon member, they will buy directly on Amazon. However, once it reaches a certain amount, it will be different. If a product is priced at 150 euros, and Amazon sells it for 150 euros, if TikTok sells it for 100 euros, there's a 50 euro difference. Then this user, I believe he is likely to buy it on TikTok, because there is already a price difference of about 30%. The price difference is still very large, and the base amount is large enough. When the base is large enough, users are more willing to go to this cost-effective platform to purchase. So everyone should take advantage of this rule. In fact, if your product has a large volume or heavy, you can actually You can do a drainage action on TikTok or a transaction. At least the cost performance will be higher. But I still want to emphasize that TikTok is not suitable for all products because its platform has such entertainment feature. So it is not suitable for all commodities. It only suits some products. After seeing so much, so in TikTok actually uses this kind of logistics subsidy. What is it called? Its abbreviation is actually called CFEFs. It is actually called, how to say it, a common one between the platform and the seller. A discount alliance is probably like this. It allows sellers to pay part of the cost to use free delivery. This is how to say it. Is an operational strategy. What are those costs? Part of the cost is the warehousing cost we just mentioned, warehouse rent, and handling fees for returns, and the general packaging cost. These are the costs. These costs need to be borne by the seller. You need to bear it. Shipping costs are not required. So, there are some things on TikTok, such as having competitive advantages. For example, let me give you an example. For example, in the process of selecting products, There are some products that are relatively large in size, but their cost is not very high. What? For example, in the European market, we sell artificial flowers, such as artificial flowers. Its value is not high, but its volume is relatively large. They are long and wide, right? It takes up a lot of space when packaged. But how much can it be sold for? It's only sold for about 20 or 30 euros, or about 10 euros. For this type of product, if I sell it on Amazon, I will suffer loss. My logistics costs will be higher. Then my selling price will be high. From the user's perspective, they are unwilling to pay extra. The cost of logistics. They may just go to the offline store to buy it, right? They can touch and see the products in the offline store, and the price is cheaper than mine. So actually on Amazon, these products have disadvantages. But on TikTok, if it offers free shipping, then I can set a relatively reasonable price. For consumers, they don't need to pay extra. The large volume, the increase in shipping costs. So this is a win-win situation. By the way, if you want to do this distribution, you can contact us. We have artificial flowers and candles, cosmetics, nail polish, lipstick, perfume. We have local stock in the European market. Then you can make small and frequent product transfers. For example, you can also create a TikTok account, then use TikTok's logistics, and then you can store the goods in small quantities and frequently to store these products. Another thing is that you may say about TikTok, if I do cross-border e-commerce, if you do cross-border e-commerce, that is to say, I use Chinese enterprise information to register a TikTok store. I may also need to prepare a VAT tax number, right? It requires costs and time. This is indeed a way, but many sellers may find it troublesome. In fact, you can actually use a European local account. It doesn't need to consider the VAT tax number. This issue, and if it is in the EU, it can be used universally. No, under the service provider. On the market, the European native account is about 3,000 to 5,000. Why is there such a high price difference? Because some of them provide after-sales service, while others don't. However, the type of goods we are selling now, such as fake flowers, candles, perfumes, and so on, these products, they are not infringing, and there are not too many limitations. So, it's not easy to encounter account problems, unless your products are very sensitive, which is another story. So you need the after-sales service of this account. So actually, if you are doing TikTok, using its FBT warehousing and logistics, and then do distribution, it is more advantageous. Well, another thing is that is to say, if you consider the trouble of VAT, you can directly find a service provider for a local account. Personally, I think the price is also acceptable. Its cost is not very high, and you can buy it directly. You can use it immediately without waiting. No need to wait. Well, you can do it simultaneously on Amazon. It's not that Amazon can't do it. You can do it simultaneously. But in terms of difficulty, TikTok is easier to get started. It's easier for new sellers. So, the so-called CFFS. In fact, in it, there are actually two types. One is actually called EFT. The other one, which is the seller's delivery and the platform's delivery. Platform delivery is as I just said, such as TNT or other logistics companies. However, no, for TikTok, it actually has a subsidy for orders. There is a subsidy for shipping costs. Without subsidies, it's about 3 euros. If you don't use their FBT, there is also a freight subsidy policy. It's about 3 euros per order. In this way, it's actually beneficial to your sales. It will be more favorable. For example, let's look at this. You see, it's TikTok. For each local order, there will be a €3 subsidy. If you use a third-party platform to deliver, there will also be a €3.5 subsidy for each order. But I still strongly recommend directly using TikTok's warehousing and logistics. I think this is the most cost-effective. Because as I just said, you need to take advantage of some of these rules. On Amazon, due to the issue of volume and weight, which leads to high prices of products, that's Amazon's disadvantage. However, on TikTok, this is its advantage. Volume and weight are not considered, maybe. For example, the shipping fee on Amazon was 10, 20, or €30. 20 or €30, but on TikTok, it's free shipping. As long as your price is more than 20, the buyer doesn't need to pay the shipping fee. So in this case, it's very good for both sellers and buyers. So why do you need to study the rules of the platform and make a comparison? It's not that Amazon is bad. It means you need to know what are the weaknesses of the Amazon platform, how to solve this problem, how to solve the problem of high logistics costs. There are other alternative ways. If you ship to other European countries for delivery, there will be subsidies. For example, if the goods are in Spain and the warehouse is in Spain, if we ship to other European countries, there will be a subsidy for such an order. If you use the platform to deliver goods, there is a subsidy of €4 per order. Subsidy. This is its calculation method. So how about its delivery time? From the perspective of logistics efficiency, I think it's acceptable. For example, if it's shipped from Spain to Spain, it takes 5 working days for local delivery. It can be delivered in 5 days. Then, if it's shipped from Spain to Germany, it takes about 8 working days. If it's shipped from Spain to Ireland, it's about 9 working days. This is its delivery time. Then why do Europe and North America prefer to use working days to calculate this kind of thing? Because in Europe, most of Europe has 2-day weekends. I haven't actually heard of anything like single day off, or the concept of large and small weeks, only single rest and large and small weeks. I only heard of this in China. Of course, I emphasize that this is just I haven't heard of it. Baby day definitely doesn't exist, but I believe that if there are a company with Western employees, if you hire non-Chinese employees, then they are likely to have 2-day weekends. Another reason is Europe has many festivals. There are many kinds of festivals. Once it's a holiday, they also have holidays. So this is why they say they calculate it based on working days. Another thing is that, by the way, that is, some employees in Europe have some sick leave every year. These are the time limit for sick leave. Well, then add weekends and holidays, and if you add annual leave and sick leave and all kinds of other things, they probably work for over 200 days a year. I think that's about it. In a year of 365 days, maybe more than 100 days are holidays. This is a common situation in Europe. If I said something wrong, you can leave a comment below the video. You can make some additions to me. This is what I have learned so far. That's it. He mentioned this term, called E2E. E2E actually represents its timeliness, which is how to distinguish the logistics time and the delivery time. This table, you just need to take a look. You don't need to calculate it so seriously, because once we use the storage and logistics of TikTok, the rest of the backend things will be handled by TikTok. We just need to focus on the operational actions. That's all. We don't need to consider things like packaging, shipping, returns, and so on. There is a situation where, for example, as Egan just said, I have inventory in Europe. I have this inventory. You can purchase inventory from me. For example, purchasing 10 items, 20 pieces of goods, and send them to the TikTok warehouse. and send them in small quantities. But even if it is sent in small quantities, it may also lead to excess inventory or unsaleable. For example, the remaining TikTok. The TikTok warehouse can be exited, and the goods inside can be returned. If you return the goods, you also need to pay a part of the fee. So, in other words, the inventory of your will be better. This is about the calculation method of the E2E. The calculation method of this fee. Well, actually, I just said so much about TikTok or Amazon. And Amazon. I'm not saying Amazon is not good. It's not good, but for beginners. I emphasize that for beginners, it's actually quite difficult, because its rules are more complicated. But I can also understand that why Amazon has set such complicated rules. It actually has other considerations. If you are a novice now and want to do e-commerce platform, I personally think that, like TikTok, it's actually relatively simple to operate and easier. What you need to solve is where your goods are, what you want to sell, where your supply chain is, and then whether you can start this business with the least amount of money. That's it. If you can find local European suppliers or local suppliers in North America, then TikTok is actually very suitable. In TikTok, there is a transaction commission, right? We know that Amazon's transaction commission is usually around 15%, but different categories, the transaction commission varies, but most of them are around 15%. The transaction commission on TikTok is 5%. It also has its own calculation method. It includes, for example, such as subtracting some discounts on the platform and seller discounts, and then after getting the final amount and multiply it by 5% is the commission you pay to TikTok. Commission for a transaction. The 5% doesn't seem like a lot. Amazon is 15%. But TikTok, we know that TikTok's traffic generation methods, there are actually two ways. One is relying on influencers, and the other is advertising. I believe that most sellers don't use advertising much. Not many use advertising, so most of them should still use the influencer method. Influencers can be divided into two types. One is short video marketing, and the other is live streaming e-commerce. However, based on my current understanding of North America and Europe, I know that live streaming is actually not as effective as short videos. This is my personal understanding. It may not be right, but the result I have obtained personally, I think the most reliable way at present is short video marketing. So short video live streaming e-commerce, it actually has costs, right? For example, you need to send samples to influencers. After the influencer receives the sample, he may not fulfill the contract. That is, for example, using this influencer, he has 20,000 fans, and his data looks good, and his fans are increasing. You send samples to him, you send him samples, he promises to. He will make a video to promote your product. However, the fulfillment rate is not very high, not 100%. It's likely that after he gets your sample, he won't make a video. Of course, there may be many reasons. He may think that this product is different from what he imagined, or the quality is poor, or have other considerations. He doesn't fulfill the contract. He may not necessarily be taking advantage of you. Of course, there are also some people who will freeload, but it can't be said that they are completely free-riding. For example, I am Megan. Egum actually has many software developers who will come to me and say, "Can you help me promote it?" And promote it, right? Then I actually need to consider whether this software, or whether it is easy to use, and then whether it's cost-effective. If I try it myself, and think it's just so-so, then I will just forget it. I'll just forget about it. That's called I don't fulfill my promise. But you see, I'm not trustworthy. Actually not, right? I think this thing not suitable for recommending to my fans. So don't think that he doesn't fulfill his promise. The influencer doesn't fulfill the contract. He is just taking advantage of your products. That's not true. You need to consider this from the other party's perspective. But anyway, its performance rate is not particularly high. Probably it's around 40% to 60%. 40% of them may not fulfill their obligations, while 60% of them will. Of course, this data is floating. It depends on your product. Your product is really excellent and good conversion rate. They will definitely be willing to help you sell it. The delivery rate will definitely be high. If your product is relatively and poor quality, then your delivery rate will decrease. You may send out 100 samples. Only 10 people will help you do short video marketing. Then this is his so-called investment. After this investment, we also need to give the influencer a commission. For example, I need to give him about 8 to 10% of the transaction commission. If you give them a transaction commission, it means that your expenditure is similar to Amazon's. That is to say, if you give him a 10% transaction commission, plus 5% platform fee, right? So it's also 15%. However, Amazon also has advertising fees, which is a problem for many. A problem for new sellers on Amazon. I believe that all new sellers are very troubled by Amazon's advertising, unless your product is really excellent. If you start with an automatic advertisement, and orders will come in, and keep getting orders, and the profit margin is good. In this case, according to the current situation in 2025, I don't think it's possible. There is such a type of product, unless you sell some exclusive, with intellectual property rights and so on. This product, that's another story. That's another matter. There is actually an advertising fee on Amazon. So, from the comparison of the two, the cost of promotion on TikTok is relatively lower than Amazon's. But it has an additional cost for samples, cost of sending samples. It depends on your needs, how to balance it yourself. First, you need to find the right fans who may be interested in your products. You can't give them randomly. Secondly, you must have confidence in your product. That is to say, the acceptance rate is high, and good quality, and the cost performance is also high. If he promotes it, he can make money. If you can grasp these two data indicators, you can grasp them. Your operating costs will be lower than Amazon's. The first one is that logistics cost is lower than Amazon. No, its promotion cost is also lower than Amazon's. It depends on your operation method. As for the influencers, I will do a separate one later. This tutorial, and put it in our membership course. I will record a series of courses on the entire TikTok system. I will record a series of courses to update it and put it in our membership course. Okay, today is about the introduction of TikTok's freight. Oh, I forgot this. I mentioned that we have European local supply chain. So if you are interested to do the distribution of TikTok, you can contact me. You can also do Amazon's distribution. It depends on your own level. If you think your level is average, and you are a new seller, don't want to invest too much, and want to get started easily, personally, I think TikTok is more suitable. Of course, in the future, I may also talk about Tim and Shining. I won't just talk about Amazon. And another one, the play of independent stations and social platforms. I may in the future. I will focus on updating these contents, because Amazon has really annoyed me a bit. I need to change the direction of my own content. Okay, today is Tuesday, September 2nd, 2025, at 9 p.m. It's about the logistics and freight between TikTok and Amazon. The logistics and freight comparison, and their respective advantages and disadvantages. Then, everyone should be good at studying the rules of the platform. You can find some competitive opportunities. As I just said, the core content of today's course is that if you sell something large in volume on Amazon, but its value is not high, in order to increase the conversion rate, then the most suitable platform for you should be TikTok, not Amazon. But if you sell with moderate volume, and the unit price is relatively high, and strong professionalism, then it is still suitable for selling on Amazon. Let me give an example. For example, Selling dishwashers. The dishwasher product. I have actually been exposed to it before. If you sell dishwashers on TikTok, the effect may be relatively poor. But if you sell it on Amazon, you can sell 1,000 or 2,000 orders, or 2,000 orders a month. So different platforms have their own advantages and differences. Some are suitable for selling on TikTok, for sales. Okay, for this content, I will continue to produce. If you are interested in our European members, and are interested, you can contact us. Thank you all. Today is Tuesday, September 2nd, 2025, at 9 p.m. Bye.